In many of those communities, it still makes that principal the highest paid person in their local community. I was talking to Kelvin Davis about this the other day, who was principal of Kaitaia Intermediate, and he worked out that he was the second highest paid person in Kaitaia. The high school principal was the one who was the highest paid at the time. They are reasonably well paid jobs, but I'm also not wanting to discount the fact that there are issues there around stress and workload and so on that we also need to address. But we can't do everything all at once. We've always been very clear about that.
Okay, so you've said you're willing to talk to them again, but that you won't go outside that. Is it 64 million or something like that?
That's right. But I mean, part of that is, if you take those principals who are in a very small school, so who are the one teacher school principals, there are some issues that they've raised with us, which I'm not sure have been well conveyed to them in terms of where the negotiations have got to. For example, they've been saying, actually, there's a health and safety issue with being the only adult in a school for significant parts of the day, and we've agreed with that. So we've said there should always be two adults in a school. They might not both be teachers. It might be that some of the time you've got administrators.
So that's a way of doing it outside
there.
The 64 million.
Well, no, that's part of the current package that we've put for them, is that in those single teacher schools there should always be two adults present, and we've made that commitment now. But when I've spoken to them, they haven't heard that, and a lot of them aren't aware that that's actually on the table now. So I think we've got a bit of a communications challenge there to explain to them what we are doing.
Have you made it off your own back here though, because you did find some more money for the teachers, and so the principals will be sitting there thinking, well, hang on, if we hold out long enough, the government will go away and find us some more money.
What we were really clear with the union about is, I got them in, we got all of the issues onto the table, and we worked through them all, and I was very clear with them that if I was going to go away and seek more money from my colleagues, this was a full and final settlement, and they signed up to that. They recommended these deals to their members. They knew full well that this would be it, that at the government, if we were going to move, we were only going to move once, and they signed up to the deal.
So principals need to be very clear here. So your message to principals is very clear. No more money, no more little squeaky bits of money found behind the couch. That's it.
No, but we've always said to principals and teachers, prior to the most recent offers, that we're always open to talking about how to reconfigure the package. If they've got things where they say, well, you're spending some money over here and we think you could reallocate it, well, of course, as we did with the communities of learning, would consider that. But in terms of finding a whole lot of new money that's not currently in the system for principal pay, that's not going to happen in this pay round.
Just finally on that principals issues, the pay parity is the issue, isn't it, that they are worried about? They want pay parity with secondary teachers, right? Secondary principals. Will they get that?
Well, that was not something that they claimed. So let's be clear about that. If that was a priority, that's probably something they should have claimed when the negotiations started.
But is that even a realistic goal for them?
Look, I think long term, there's not actually that much difference in the salary scale. We're talking about, for most principals, and bearing in mind most principals are earning well over $100,000. It's sort of in the $2,000 pay range difference between the scales, and there's unders and overs within that. So it's not a huge difference that we're talking about, and over time I think it is quite possible that we might get to.
But they have to be realistic.
A pay parity arrangement. I think we've probably gone as we've said this pretty clearly. We've gone as far as we can go in this pay round.
All right, the state sector reforms, a large piece of legislation. Explain to somebody who uses a government service, perhaps on a benefit or ACC, interacting with government, how this change may somehow make their life easier.
I think one of the most frustrating things that I get back from people is when they're interacting with all the different public services and they say, why is it that the public service doesn't seem to be able to talk to itself? Why do I have to go to one government department or agency to get information which I then give to another government department or agency? Surely you guys can connect up and actually provide a seamless service. And to give you an example of that, the world of commerce have already done this. So if you have a Facebook account or a Google account or whatever, you can use that to log into any number of other different companies or commercial outfits. They've created seamless kind of front ends to their services. We haven't done that in the public service. We're well behind the private sector, the world of commerce in that regard. So I think those are the sorts of things that we want to be able to achieve. We also want to be able to say, well, in areas like climate change, like child poverty, we're never going to solve those issues if every government department is just doing their own thing in their own silo. We've actually got to break them out of those silos and get them working together on those big and complex problems.
So that will require chief executives, presumably. Is there going to be more pressure, more scrutiny of chief executives to ensure that they are pointing in the right direction.
Absolutely, and I think we'll be expecting chief executives to take more collective responsibility for those big challenges. So at the moment, the public sector works on the basis that if you're the chief executive responsible for education, you're only responsible for education. You're not responsible for anything to do with health or welfare or whatever. But actually, the health and welfare of kids has an impact on their education. So we want to see those chief executives collectively taking responsibility for those
Just
issues.
finally, can you give an assurance that these are fairly non-political changes in the sense that they are about making the civil service work better, whoever the government is? They're not going to be skewing the scrum in any way.
No, I mean, I think they're a continued evolution of work that Trevor Mallard did when he was Minister of State Services, that Bill English and their government did when they were in government. I think it's a continued evolution of that. We have consulted the opposition on these changes. They indicated in terms of the structural changes they didn't have any sort of show-stopping concerns about that. Of course, their public rhetoric yesterday was a little different to that, but behind the scenes I think they've indicated that they were broadly comfortable with the direction we were going in.